that we work with. So today I'm really, really pleased that we're joined by Dudley from Sunvil. Sunvil are actually celebrating 50 years of operation this year, and we've always loved working with them in Greece. They have really detailed specialist knowledge and superb local partners, and it really is second to none for any operator in that country. And in a country where you've got so many different options, both on the mainland and on the islands, we want to make sure we work with the best there. I'm not going to say how long Dudley's been working with Sunvil, but I think suffice to say, I doubt that there's anyone else in the country, in the UK, who can talk more knowledgeably about Greece and the Cyclades. And why did we pick the Cyclades? Well, I guess if you're thinking of a classic Greek island, then it may well be the Cyclades. It covers the famous names such as Santorini and Mykonos, but also many, many less visited islands, many of them untouched totally by international tourism. So I'm going to hand you over to Dudley in a second. The presentation will be roughly 35 minutes or so, something like that. Feel free to use the chat button, should be in the middle of your screen, to ask questions as we go along, or unmute yourself and shout out, and I'll try and deal with any questions as they come along. So over to you, please, Dudley.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Yeah, thanks for inviting us to do this. Well, I will say how long I've been, I'm not shy to say how long I've been with Sunvil. It's 40 years. I started in '79, actually, and I started as a brochure packer for travel agent brochure supplies. And then I sort of took the Greek program over in the early 80s. I spent a lot of the 80s, well, since then, I've spent a lot of my time in Greece. In the early days, it was wonderful because no internet, no mobile phones, no one could find me. I could just disappear and wander around. But yes, over the years, it's changed so much now. You're right about the Cyclades being the classic Greek destination. I think that's what people have in their mind when they think of a Greek island. It will be an image of a Cycladic style image. They've got all the classic features. We'll come on to them, but you know, it's the small islands and the whitewashed churches, the villages. They've got everything really. And I think also, you know, when people go to an island, it's nice to go on a ferry, and people do enjoy that as much as part of the holiday as anything else. So, as you said, there's a lot of choice, many islands, and it's quite an overwhelming choice, really. So it's quite good to get some guidance, I think. Can we have the next slide, Sophie? Okay, so yes, we've been going for 45 years to Greece. We started in the mid-70s, before my time, and it's a bit built up from there. We now do 57 islands, or we can operate to 57 islands. A lot of them are the Cycladic islands. We tend to avoid the really touristic places, but if we do the better islands, we try and find little places and little areas which avoid the crowds. We don't work with big mass market hotels. There are not many of those in the Cyclades anyway. They tend to be smaller family-run concerns, which is what we like, and what our clients like as well. And our people like to feel our strapline is find the real country, and that's what we always look for. So even away from the Cyclades, even on the bigger islands such as Corfu and Crete, we find places which are away from the crowds. We inspect all our accommodation, so we always know what we're looking for and pick it accordingly. Our clientele, as I said, they like to feel they're in the real country. They like to feel they're mixing with the locals. They like to be close to everything, but not in the center of things. So quiet, but within easy walking distance and access of a village, tavernas, the beach, all the main attractions. They don't really like to be stuck out too far away. They don't want to have a car to go out to the evenings. We do actually have a villa program which has villas with cars, but Sunvil on the islands is very much everything within easy reach. And as I said, you know, not just I have a lot of knowledge, but all our team. Maybe I have the best overall knowledge, but everyone in the office has a speciality and know the individual islands themselves, certain ones. Okay, next one. So basically, the Cyclades are the islands in the central Aegean. You can see them there from Andros in the north down to Santorini in the south, and they all, some of them link up with others very easily, and other islands are pretty difficult to link up. So we split them into little groupings, east, west, and what we call the small Cyclades. I'll come on to them. And we split them like that because of ease of travel between them. Island hopping is, of course, the classic Greek holiday, but you don't have to do island hopping. Lots of people just go for 1 or 2 weeks on one of the islands, or maybe a 1 week on one week on the other. That's a twin centre rather than island hopping. So it's really horses for courses, I think. Island hopping is an option if you want, but if you don't want to have to move on every 2 or 3, 4 or 5 days, and you just want to relax and explore an island, and there's certainly the larger islands have got plenty to explore and fill your time for 2 weeks. That's also fine. I would say that more people really go for single or twin centre holidays than actual island hopping, which might be 4 or 5 islands in 2 weeks. Next one. So the attractions of the Cyclades, as Charlie said, they are the ultimate Greek island, picture postcard really. What do they have in common? Well, nearly all of them have fantastic sandy beaches. This is an example of one, and I took this photograph, and I think it was taken in July. So, you know, this is a remote island. This is an island called Kymelos. It's just off Milos. So it's not that easy to get to. It's not many direct ferries, and that's why the beaches are like they are. But all the islands, with the exception maybe of Santorini and possibly Folengandros, have beaches which are as good as any you'll find anywhere, I think, and beautiful clean seas. So that's one of the main attractions. Next one. The other thing they have in common is very pretty villages. This is a village on Tinos. Tinos is actually one of the most famous islands in Greece, amongst the Greeks, for its villages. It's supposed to have the prettiest villages of any island in Greece. And this is a village called Triantaros, which we actually have a couple of village houses here, and that's actually the view from the balcony of one of them. Tinos has 40 villages, very similar to this, and unlike a lot of the islands where the villages some of the villages have been semi-abandoned, in Tinos they're all very vibrant. All of them pretty much have at least 1 or 2 tavernas, a cafe, small shop, and it's a really vibrant way to explore the real Greece. Next one. The other thing they have in common is a picture postcard harbour. This one is on Paros, and all the islands have pretty harbours because obviously fishing before tourism was a mainstay, and still is for many of the islands. A mainstay of their economy, and now a centre for people to come to in the evenings, have a dine out in the evening in the fish restaurants. I think one of the joys of a holiday in Greece is eating out in the evening, picking your taverna, and just having a really nice, slow, quiet, relaxed evening in very, very scenic surroundings with good food. Okay. And the islands are also very famous for their little churches and chapels. They're littered with them. Many are privately built and dedicated to, quite often, the saint of the island. But they're still all pretty much all used. So maybe a family church or a family chapel, but they are a feature. Probably the most famous island for churches is actually Santorini, because you always have the classic shots. Santorini, for some reason, there is a reason, I can't remember what it is. They tend to have blue domes. Most of the others are white. Some of them, like this is on Kythnos, have tiled roofs. But they're very much a common feature, again, with all the islands. Next one. And another thing, you don't see as much as you used to, but there are still some islands where donkeys are still very much in evidence. Some islands still working, tend to be the remote islands, not the busier ones, because the busier ones have gone over more to tourism. But the remoter islands don't rely on tourism; they still have a farming and fishing industry mainly. And you'll see people riding their donkeys, taking to the fields. This is Folengandros. The other islands where you're probably most likely, the more remote ones where you're more likely to see rural life as it used to be. Amalgos is one, and Kythnos I would pick out as well. We'll come to those. Thank you, Doug. So this is more of a close-up of the islands. So as I said, we split them into three groups. The eastern Cyclades, which I suppose if you draw a line down from Mykonos, some of the islands fall into two camps. So Tinos, I would count eastern. Syros can be east or west. But if you draw a line down from Tinos, straight down, you've got Mykonos, you've got Paros, you've got Santorini, Eos and Santorini, and Antiparos. That's what we call the Eastern Cyclades. And the reason we group them together is because those islands have very good ferry links between them. So you can fly into Mykonos. That's a gateway, and then the ferries link up Paros, Naxos, Eos, Santorini. Very, very good services, very frequent. And then you can fly out from Santorini. So that's a good island hopping trip. You don't have to go back on yourself. And then on the Western Cyclades are the ones you can't see the mainland of Athens, of Greece, but it's just off to the left. So starting with Kythnos in the north, Seriphos, Sifnos, Kymilos, Milos, and Folengandros. That's what we call the Western Cyclades. These are less well known, less busy, although they are coming up now. For those, normally we fly you into Athens, and the nearest island, Kythnos is on its own. It doesn't really link up with the others, but the ones that link up really easily are Seriphos, Sifnos, Milos, Kymilos, and Folengandros. You can get to Folengandros and Milos, and get to all of them via Santorini as well. Folengandros is much closer to Santorini than it is to Athens, but there's more choice of transportation from Athens. Santorini to Folengandros, there's one boat a day in the evening, and it's a high-speed one, not such a big boat, so if the weather's a bit rough, that might have delays. Generally for this group, we tend to fly people into Athens. Some of the islands have airports with domestic, apart from Mykonos and Santorini, which have international flights, I think pretty much every day from the UK. Some of the smaller islands have domestic airports with daily flights from Athens. So if you want to get there quickly and not go on a ferry, we can fly you to Athens and then hopefully connect you on to Paros is one, Naxos is another one, and of course Mykonos and Santorini do also have domestic flights. And Milos in the Western Cyclades, I think the best way to get to Milos really is to fly to Athens, You can get to Athens around about, so if you get an early flight, you can get to Athens around about midday or early afternoon, and you can take a mid-afternoon flight to Milos. You can be there by 3, 4 in the afternoon Greek time, and same on the way back. In the old days, the ferries used to be slow, very older, slow boats, and these islands really took many hours to get to. But now, most of the ferries are high speed, and you can get to Seriphos in about an hour and a half from Piraeus, I think, and Sifnos in a couple of hours. And then the last little group, this is really a tiny little part of the Cyclades, but what we call the small Cyclades. These are the islands south of Naxos. So you can get to these now via Mykonos with a ferry. It's only not such a good connection. Sometimes you have to overnight in Mykonos. But these are the islands of Skinoussia, Koufonisia. They are really tiny. The last one down there is Amorgos to the southeast. That's quite a big island. We sort of call it small Cyclades, but it's not actually small. It's quite a big one. And the other thing here is that you can, for the north, up in the north, Andros and Tinos have good connections from Athens as well. It's probably better, or Mykonos. But I prefer to go through Athens because I think it's more reliable. So from Athens, it's a half-hour ferry ride to the port, not Piraeus. It's another port on the coast called Rafina, and it's 2 hours or less to Andros, and another hour on to Tinos. So there's various ways of doing all these islands, and you can mix and match. You can go into one airport, out of another, and we'll just do it the best way, the most economic way possible. Thank you. So we start with the eastern Cyclades. These, as Charlie said, these are the big name islands, the ones that are famous. I mean, Santorini, of course, is one of the most famous islands in the world, as is Mykonos. These two probably get more tourists between them than all the rest of the Cyclades put together, because they have direct flights from many countries and are world famous. The drawback is, of course, they're crowded. I think Santorini and Mykonos isn't a big island, neither Santorini, and they get a lot of tourists. I would certainly say, if you're going to these islands, July and August is probably not a good idea. Really try and go off season. And even in June and September, they are busy. Santorini and Mykonos, they also have cruise boat traffic, so you get a lot of day trippers. But having said that, Santorini in particular, I mean, it is unique and quite spectacular. So it is definitely an island to see, but I would say I normally recommend clients don't spend 1 or 2 weeks there. I think 3 nights at the beginning or the end of your holiday is fine, and you can get the Santorini experience. And also, these islands have some very expensive hotels as well as the normal standard 3 stars. They have some very exclusive 5-star hotels, small ones, boutique style, on the cliff, on the overlooking the caldera. And we feature a few of these. You can pay as much as you want to pay, really. These islands, being famous, have a very international clientele. You get a lot, particularly Americans, Australians, and strangely enough, Santorini gets a lot of Chinese visitors. I was there, last time I was there a couple of years ago, I saw these Chinese couples wandering around. And I asked the agent I was with, well, why would they say? And he said, well, apparently in China, there'd been a soap opera set on Santorini and filmed in Santorini. So all the Chinese, sort of all the couples, that got very famous for marriages. So a lot of them come out to Santorini to get married. It's a bit weird to have a Greek island featured on a Chinese soap opera, but there you go. The Mykonos, I have to be honest, Mykonos is an island that we tend to use just for overnighting, really. It's not an island that has much appeal to our clientele. Our clientele like to, they tend to avoid crowds and they don't want very touristic places. Mykonos has fabulous beaches, has a lively nightlife. It's got some excellent hotels, again, 5-star luxury, small, nice, very good hotels. But our people tend to not want to tarry there too long. And we use it as a jumping off point for an onward ferry trip, maybe to Naxos. Naxos is the largest island of the group. Naxos is probably the island pretty much where most of our clients, the majority of our clients go. We send more people to Naxos than any other. From Mykonos, it's only about an hour on the ferry, if that, on the high speed, and there are good connections. As I said, it's a large island, so it's got lots of room to explore. It's got a lovely old capital town with a fortress above, and amazing little back streets to explore, and a lively harbour. And as you go south from there, you've got a string of excellent beaches. Some of them are now small resorts. Because it's a bigger island, it's quite mountainous in the middle. It's getting well known for the walking, and there's some nice little traditional villages up there. So Naxos has its fair share of visitors, but because it's a big island, it's fairly well spread out, and you never feel you're in a sort of particularly touristic place, although it is busy. Lots of ferries in and out. And next door to Naxos, Paros and Antiparos. Paros is a bit smaller, but again, very, very pretty, lovely beaches. There's some lovely little villages on the island, and it's a very good combination with Naxos because it's so close. It's less than an hour between them, although all the islands, even if they're very close to one another, they're all very contrasting, which is again another reason why twin central island hopping has such appeal, because in an hour on a ferry you can be in a completely different atmosphere, different island, different traditions, and a different feel to it. So there's a lot of choice and a lot of contrast between them. Okay, so just drilling down a little bit onto some of the accommodation that we do use on these. This is one of the cliff hotels on Santorini. It's a lovely hotel. It's in a village called Aegean right up in the north. Aegean is the village where it's the famous Santorini sunset is best viewed from here. So it gets very busy around sunset time. A lot of people come into the village, but they all sort of crowd onto the path above the top of the cliff. The hotels which are built down the cliff, they're very higgledy-piggledy. Now, all these hotels on the cliff, because of the way it is, you have to be pretty fit to stay in most of them. There's a lot of steps involved. It's difficult for them to put a lift in. One or two, I think, have got lifts part of the way. The Esperas we like because, as I said, you can go for really sort of 5-star luxury and pay an arm and a leg. The Esperas, it's not cheap, but it's not in the sort of really expensive bracket. I think for Santorini and Aegean, which is the most expensive area, it's very good value. I also think that if you're going to Santorini, if it's only for 2 or 3 nights, I think it's a good idea to pay a bit more and actually stay on the cliff, because the whole point of going to Santorini is really for that view. The view is unique. It's fantastic. If you're staying at this hotel, you've got your balcony. You get the sunset view from it every evening, and it's quiet because all the crowds are up above you. You don't see them. If you walk out up the stairs to the top, there's lots of tavernas and cafes and restaurants. But when you're back on your terrace in your room looking out at that view, it is unforgettable. So I think if you want to sort of start or end the holiday on a high, and you want to visit Santorini, it's a good idea to upgrade a little bit rather than stay in a town hotel, a 3-star in town, without the view. Pay a bit more, and you can. It's not going to break the bank if it's only 3 nights, and go for a good value cliffside hotel such as this one. They're built in. The rooms are built into the cliff in what they call cave style. This is a Santorini traditional style. But when you open your balcony doors and you look out, it's just wonderful. Breakfast is normally served to your terrace as well, and what better way to start the day than that? And a lot of them have small pools as well. They're not big because there's not a lot of space. But so that's that one. The next one. Okay, this is probably, I think Charlie mentioned that he sends clients here. This is one of our favourite hotels on one of our favourite islands, the Galaxy. We have a lot of clients just going for the full 1 or 2 weeks here. It's in Naxos. It's been renovated. They have a nice style. It's got gardens, got a nice pool, and you're a 3-minute walk from the sandy beach. Lots of tavernas, restaurants, easily walkable. And the other thing about it is it's just to the south of the town. You can walk into the town in 10 minutes. You can be at the harbour in about 10 minutes. So it really is the best of both worlds. It's very good service. It's well priced. So I think this is actually a classic hotel for Sunvil.
It's still family run, Dudley, is it?
It's still family run, yes. Yeah. All our hotels are family run, really. Yeah. Okay, next one. So this is the Contratas Beach, like the Galaxy. It's on the edge of it's not in the main town, it's on the edge of probably a very pretty little village. I showed you the harbour pic we saw earlier was from here. This is, again, it's just across the road from the beach. It's in a quiet area. It's very good standard. Most of our clients on these holidays, we tend to go for 3 or 4-star hotels, and this again it's a 3/4, I would say. Good service, family run, very friendly. You can walk. You have to walk up the hill and over the other side to get down to the harbour area. It's a buzzy little place, but again, it's exactly what we like. Okay, next one. And this is slightly different. So Syros, as I said, Syros is in the centre of the group. It is actually what they call the capital of the Cyclades. It's the main island. It's where all the administration takes place. It's not an island that's particularly well known for tourists. It's well known to the Greeks, but not so much to foreign nationals. The town is absolutely lovely. It's full of neoclassical. It's a big town. It's largely neoclassical buildings. It was a very wealthy island in the 18th and 19th centuries. A lot of shipbuilding and ship owners come from here. So that's reflected in the architecture. And it's very, as I said, it has a very Greek atmosphere and some beautiful buildings. It's got museums. I think it's got a theatre, big squares. If you go out, it's got a very good bus service on Syros. It's got some lovely beaches. We've got a small resort there, Sandy Beach Resort as well, with a good hotel on it. But it's just the style of hotel. This is only a 3-star. It's not a luxury hotel, but it's just the style and the character just reflects the town and the island it's in. And I think it's a lovely island, Syros, and definitely one for people who maybe have been to the more well-known islands. If they want to explore this one, there's a lot to see, and it's got a lot of character. Okay, so these are now the Eastern Cyclades, as I said earlier. You can see them here. The gateways are Mykonos in the north, Santorini in the south, and there's very good ferry links up and down the whole chain. So very easy to put together. Next one. So the Western Cyclades are less well known and less touristic. but it's coming up. Probably Milos is getting quite busy now. But if you want to escape the crowds but still have the feeling of these islands, this is a very good choice. As in, normally flying into Athens, just very briefly, Andros is only 2 hours from Athens, so it's quite easy to get to. It's very well known for walking. It's not an island that's ever had much tourism. It's not wooed the tourists, hasn't needed to, because again, it's got quite a lot of wealth on the island. They haven't encouraged it particularly. And if you're a walker, then Andros is very good. Tinos is right next door to Andros, very easy to combine as a twin centre, just 1 hour by ferry. Very different. Tinos is known to the Greeks. It's a religious centre. It has a very well-known church at the top of the hill where it attracts pilgrims. And if you, particularly on the feast day of the 15th of August, or any day really, you're likely to see Greek pilgrims, particularly little old ladies dressed in black. And a lot of them crawl up the hill on their hands and knees. They put a carpet down to assist them. Syros I've just mentioned. Kythnos, I said at the beginning, Kythnos is an island on its own. It's not really linked up with the others by ferries. It's very close to the mainland, but it hasn't, because of the lack of ferry links, it's probably one of the least commercial, least touristic islands of the whole group. We do walking holidays on Kythnos. It's fantastic for walking. And they're very popular and they're very well priced. But it's not an island I would go to well, it's got some lovely beaches, you'll see them, but it doesn't have, the interest in Kythnos is really inland, in the villages and the walking and the paths. And this is the island that has still, you'll come across donkeys, you'll come across the Greece as it used to be, the islands as they used to be. It's very unspoiled. Okay, next one. So the other 4 islands that we feature here, Folengandros, like Santorini and like Milos, it's between the two. It's a volcanic island. Some people call it Santorini without the crowds. It does have similarities. It's got a lovely main town. In fact, pretty much the only settlement on the island is the main town, Folengandros, which you can see here. It's on a cliff, like Santorini. It's got the cliff, it's got the volcanic cliffs, it's got lovely views, and the town is full of character. Folengandros is quite popular with Greeks. You see a lot of Greek tourists, and but not so well known as, and it avoids the crowds of Santorini, but you do get some of the benefits of that. Milos, I think, is one of the most interesting islands. It's quite a big island, a lot of contrast. The interest on Milos is geological. It has fantastic geology here. And because of all the different rock formations and the geology of the island, a highlight here is around the island boat trip, or particular, if you haven't got time for a full day, you can do a half-day boat trip along the south coast. Everyone who does that says it's the best thing they did. It's really spectacular. It's a lovely island, Milos. We have accommodation in a small village called Apollonia, which is very small Greek island feel to it. It's fishing harbour, sandy beach, some very nice tavernas, and really laid back and chilled out. There's good bus service to take you into town, which is about a sort of 30-minute bus ride away. Seriphos is more of a backwater. It's coming up now, but it's the most northerly one. It's north of Sifnos and Milos. It's a good one to end on, as it's so quiet. Very good beaches, and again, a lovely. All the islands have in common. They have most of them have an old village, an old town, high up above on the cliff. They always call it Hora, and it's built there for protection against the pirates in the bygone years. So Seriphos has got a beautiful Hora, and the last one here is Sifnos. I think Sifnos with Naxos is probably our client's favourite island. it's a very sophisticated island in terms that it again doesn't have huge tourism. The Greeks like it very much. The wealthy Athenians, a lot of them have got holiday homes here, and it has a sophisticated atmosphere, avoids the crowds, some lovely beaches, and it's also very well known for its cuisine. It has a culinary festival in early September every year with chefs coming from all around the world. So if you're into food, then that's a good one to visit. Next one. So this is one of the hotels we have on Sifnos. This is a classic Sunvil style small hotel. It's a little 3-star, family run, right on the beach, very friendly, got a bus stop outside. There's lots of other tavernas you can get to. You won't have a warmer welcome than here. Next one. So Milos, again, a typical 3-star hotel that we do in Apollonia. This is the little village I was telling you about with the nice beach and the tavernas and the fishing harbour. And this hotel's about a 5-10 minute walk from all those attractions. Again, it's family run. Next one. And this is one we have on Serifos. We call them the studios, but it's like a little hotel bed and breakfast. Again, you see that all our hotels, pretty much all of them, have really lovely views. That's another thing we look for. Our clients certainly like just to sit on their balcony and have a wonderful view. And this is one of the best here. Okay. And Kythnos, I picked this one because Kythnos, as I said, is a little bit on its own, and the island is more for walking. The life of this island, because it's a traditional island, isn't by the sea so much. There are small resort areas, but the life of this island still is in its inland villages. And the Messaria Hotel is in one of these inland villages, in the capital actually. And there's much more life here at night than there is down by the sea. As I said, Greece as it used to be, and they built this lovely little hotel. The owner, she does she does a lot of baking. She does homemade breakfasts with cheese pies, spinach pies, all made by herself, which is nice. Okay. And so, as we were saying, we split the Western Cyclades into two separate little groups, really. Andros, Tinos, Mykonos. Andros and Tinos, you can get to from Athens same day. And then the other group down to the southwest, starting with Serifos in the north. Then you've got Sifnos, Milos, Folengandros, and good ferry links. Not quite as frequent as they are Naxos, Paros, Santorini, because that's the really popular area. But at least 2 or 3 times a day, there should be links between these islands. So again, very, very easy to get around, and a good choice if you want to see some islands which are less well known, still have all the attributes of the classic Cycladic islands, but have a different atmosphere and less busy. Okay. And lastly, these are the small Cyclades. So Amorgos is the big one. Amorgos is a wonderful island. It's very long and narrow and very mountainous and rugged. It's a wild island. It's an island where nature still dominates here. You feel that it's always been very remote until the high-speed ferry service started from Mykonos, which was just a couple of years ago. The only way to get to Amorgos really was 8 hours from Athens on the ferry. So it's never had much tourism. It's starting now, but even so, there's not many hotels. So if you want to really get away from it all, if you like nature, again, it's a wonderful island for walking. All our clients going here, we give them a walking guidebook, which they can self-guide walks or maps and instructions. We have a little village called Aegialis. That's actually a picture of Aegialis. That's viewed from one of our hotels. Again, it's got everything you want. It's got a little harbour, it's got the whitewashed houses, got some nice tavernas and a nice sandy beach. But Amorgos, I think, is if you like walking and bird watching, spring flowers. You know, this is an untouched island. The other little islands we feature in this group, Koufonissi and Skinusa. But Skinusa is really just a little dot. It's very remote, and these are all south of Naxos. So if you want to, again, I think even in August you could go here and it wouldn't be very crowded. Koufonissi is right next door. Koufonissi has some of the best beaches I've seen in Greece. For a small island, you can walk around it in a few hours. It's just a string of fabulous sandy beaches and one small village. Now, because of the beaches, it is busy in high season. A lot of Greeks go there because it's well known to the Greek market. But it's a lovely area. If you're a beach lover, and Koufonissi is certainly one to note. And it combines very well with Amorgos or with Naxos or with Skinusa. Those are the islands to go with it. Okay. And these are the couple of hotels we do. One hotel we do on Amorgos. It's by the beach. It's a simple, small, again, 3-star hotel, family run. Got a taverna, 10-minute walk from the harbour. Absolutely ticks all our boxes. And just as a contrast, the next one, just to show you that each island, I mean, we have a choice of hotels. These are just the ones I've picked out. This is another style. This is beautiful. I mean, directly above the sea, got lovely floral terraces. This is actually even closer to the harbour. It's just on the edge of the village. And again, a family-run, small little hotel. Very, very cute, very nice. And next one, how are we doing for time? Are we okay?
Yeah, I think you're nearly there, aren't you, Dudley?
Yeah, okay. I'm just about there, sorry. Okay, just a word about the ferries. The old days used to be the big ferries. Blue Star still is one of the major ferry companies in Greece. I think they're a very, very good company. And they run a lot of these routes. They're my preferred. I prefer Blue Star. I like going on Blue Star. They're quite fast. They're not as fast as the high speed, but they're good. They're very, very comfortable. The old style ferries where you can get out on deck, you can walk about. Got cafes and lounges, and they're very, very, very good. Next one. What's come on recently is more and more high-speed vessels. These are large catamaran-style vessels, and the majority of ferries now in the Cyclades, especially the big islands, the Santorini, Naxos, Paros, and the Western Cyclades, the majority of ferries are this style. They are quick. I don't like them so much because, you know, it's enclosed. You like being in an aircraft, really. The bigger ones are fine. Some of the smaller ones can be prone to if it's very windy, they get delays, and if it's extremely windy, they won't go at all. And if they do go, they wouldn't be very comfortable. That's why I prefer Blue Star. But these are certainly convenient. They're very quick, and they do the job. And the next one. Okay, so this is, if you can read Greek, you'll see the word, the name of this ship is Ethi. I like to think this is the ferry that goes around the small Cyclades, but it was obviously taken before the COVID crisis came because there's no social distancing at all on that one. But that's just a little amusing slide that I found of the old days. Unfortunately, they don't make them like that anymore. And the next one. One thing to say about the Cycladic Islands you have to be aware of is they can be very, very windy. They're central Aegean, and particularly in July and August, in the high seas and the hottest days, you can get a very strong wind blowing from the north. They call it the Meltemi. The islands then means the north coast can be exposed coast, the sea can be too rough to swim, but there'll always be sheltered beaches on the southern coast. But be aware of the wind because, you know, it can be very strong. It's actually fine generally because, you know, when it's very hot, then the wind, it cools things down a bit. But you have to keep your shutters closed. Don't leave your shutters open because they'll just bang. And it's just something to be aware of. It's just one of the characteristics of these islands. And the next one, just to say that, just to remind people of the highlights, this is Naxos. This is Naxos town. It's quite a, not a small place. It's very pretty. One of the, again, this is the next one is the, I think it's a little chapel there. Yeah, that's a classic chapel. That's actually on Amorgos, that one, and it's still got the blue dome roof there. The next one, this is actually also Amorgos. This is just a classic scene. Lovely little taverna in the old town. This was. Not sure if the old gentleman there is actually having his siesta or if he's awake, but anyway, good luck to him. And just a reminder of how good the beaches are. I said Kythnos was a walking island, but look, Kythnos has got beaches like this. I mean, fabulous, and very little tourism. One of the reasons that people come to us for these holidays is because the Greek ferries are still, although the networks have improved over the years and are much more reliable now, they still can be fraught with problems sometimes. If it's windy, there are delays, there are cancellations, there can be strikes. The Greeks like a good strike. We've had ferry strikes for 3 or 4 days. We always get advance notice of these. On every island, we have a local agent appointed by ourselves or by our main agents in Athens. They control everything. They get warning when there's going to be any problems with the ferries in the next day or two. We will take action to get you off the island so you don't miss your flight home. We will change your itinerary while you're actually on holiday, and rebook hotels to make sure that you don't get stranded. People who, a lot of times in the past, there have been strikes and things like that. It's very sudden strikes without much warning. And a lot of people have got stuck on the islands and missed their flights. We always had advance warning of these. We've been dealing with problems a long time. And so I think the reason people book with us, we give all transfers on all islands. We're not holding your hand too much. The metal, the Greek, it can be pretty chaotic out there. We meet you, we take you to your hotel, and then you're there, and then we'll pick you up from the hotel, give you your ferry ticket to the next island. If there's a time change, which can happen with very short notice, they can change the time of the ferry without really giving you more than a day's notice. We're checking these things all the time. So it's an insurance, it's a security, it's the service. And the Greek ferries, okay, you might think, oh, fine, I can book these online now. Well, yes, you can, but what you see online is actually going to be the reality. It's still not always that secure. I think we're about there. What's next? Yes, I think that's the end of it.
That's great. And can I just absolutely brilliant. Can I just echo what you just said? Then I can think of at least a couple of examples in recent years when I've had a call message saying, you've got some clients on wherever Paros, and that there's a change of ferry schedule. We're going to need to do this and that to them. It's already been set up, and it's fantastic to know that they're being looked after, in the country like that. Wow, what a collection of islands. I've got a few to add to my list there, which I've not been to. Syros looks gorgeous.
Syros, lovely. Yeah.
Folengandros, I just love the look of that chapel just up the hill. And the boat trip on Milos, and 3 that I've got. That ever-growing list of things. Now, have you got any questions out there? Has anyone got any immediate questions or thoughts on anything you've seen on that? Feel free to unmute yourself or send a chat in.
It's Tim. I've got to go. It's 7 o'clock. But many thanks for the info.
It's great, Tim. Nice to see
pleasure.
you. Thanks for seeing.
Cheers.
Thank you. One
thing I want to check, Dudley. Season-wise, I mean, you've talked about July and August and Meltemi. I mean, are we talking about travelling in this area really from sort of April onwards, or what would you be saying?
April's a bit difficult because the ferries aren't really up and the schedules are very limited. I think May onwards is okay. Even the the first 3 weeks of May until June, they call it low season. You know, they count it as low season. There aren't the frequency of ferries, but there's certainly enough ferries running to be able to do these holidays. It's a nice time to go. But I think before April, a lot of these smaller islands, okay, not Santorini and Mykonos, but a lot of the others, they're not really open. You know, their season really starts in May. Or if Greek Easter's late, it's the end of April, they'll open then. But the thing here is they do go on till, because they get plenty of international visitors, their season's quite long. It's longer than some islands, and the weather stays good well into October normally. Okay. So I would say, you know, even if you go at the end of September, okay, the ferry schedule's cut down, but we pretty much know what's going to be running, and you know, I think even the first 2 weeks of October is fine.
Great, so good, so chances to go out if people wanted an autumn break this
absolutely
this year.
The weather's good.
So because you ran your first flight this morning, that's right, to the eastern Aegean. To
Lemnos, yes, up in the northeast. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's great that the flights have now started up to Greece, which is fantastic. And I know this is a $1 million question, literally. What would you? I mean, just can you give any indication of give an idea of an island hopping trip? You choose what sort of thing, how you would describe it.
Of a price. Well, yeah, how long's a piece of string, really? Because there's so many variables in there, from flight price, if you book early, because we for these islands, we tend to use EasyJet.
Yep.
Because they have quite good frequent services into Santorini and Mykonos, as well as Athens. BA, of course, into Athens, and I think they also do Heathrow to Mykonos and Santorini as well. But EasyJet, obviously, price-wise, is better, and they have quite frequent services, so quite easy to fit itineraries around. And the earlier you book EasyJet, the better. I mean, they launched today for next year. Now we know that the initial fare offerings are very cheap, but they sell out fairly quickly. But I think, you know, even if you book these even early next year, the prices will be reasonable. But then it depends on the level of hotels you want. You know, a posh hotel in Santorini can cost as much as for one night can cost as much as a week on
okay.
3-star on Paros. So they will have to be costed individually. But I would say, as a rule of thumb, don't hold me to this, but I would think that a week island hopping would maybe start, if you get good priced flights and staying in comfortable 3-star accommodation. A week would maybe be from about £850, £900 per person for a couple, including flights, transfers, bed and breakfast, and all the ferries.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks maybe from about £1,200. But then you're going up maybe in high season. You know, you might be looking at it would go up, and 2 weeks can go in season maybe £1,500 each.
Okay. No, that gives it. It's great. Thank you for that.
And if you want Santorini Cliff hotels, of course, it's more.
Well, absolutely. No, I've got that. And then I guess the only other thing. You particularly talked about some of the walking islands. I'm guessing that's only some of them that are really suitable for walking, or would you say that's pretty much across the board?
I'd say it's pretty much across the board. There's some websites you can go to which have walking things for all the islands. I mean, a lot of the islands now, they've invested money in opening up trails. I know Serifos has just done some. Mm-hmm. Andros is very well known for walking. Naxos is good for walking because it's got the mountain. It's more mountainous. Yep. So I think there's good walking on all of them, but there are some in particular which stand out, I think.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, well, if that, it is just after 7. Has anyone else got any more questions? So I think we will probably just wrap up then. But Dudley, that was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Just fantastic. I must admit, it's fired me up. I can't, you know, I'm actually lucky enough to heading out to Greece myself next month, and I cannot wait. But this is a whole new area of me, you know, that I really want to get back into the Cyclades. So thank you so much indeed. It's you know, so it's a real privilege to hear your, you know, your knowledge of the area. Thank you so much for that. And for everyone else, thank you for coming. This is the last of our summer destination webinars. We hope they've worked for you. We're going to have a break, and then we're going to start again with a monthly series in the autumn. And first off the rank is going to be Cape Town and the Garden Route on the Thursday, 24th of September. So hopefully we'll see you then. Thank you all very much. And Dudley, thank you very much indeed.